All because of one promise. I was reborn twice. The first time I married into Lucy's family and quietly took care of her for life. But on my deathbed, I was told a mediocre life didn't deserve a spot in her family plot. The second time, after marrying in, I worked hard to run Lucy's family business and finally took the company public. But when I was dying, my wish still wasn't granted. With my last breath, I tearfully asked why, and she finally told me the truth. 10 years ago, Tom already took that spot. Now there's no place for you in Lucy's family plot. Full of resentment, I took my final breath. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the eve of my wedding. Lucy leaned against me and said with so much affection, "Jack, we'll be together forever. Even after we die, we'll be buried side by side." Looking at her serious expression, memories from my past life came flooding back. The hospital room reeked of disinfectant. After 3 months in bed, sores had formed all over my body. She hired a caregiver, but barely showed up herself. That day, she actually sat by my bed for once. I brought up the family plot, and after a pause, she said softly, "Jack, it was arranged 10 years ago. Tom is already resting there. There's no place for you in Lucy's family plot anymore." As she spoke, her eyes kept avoiding mine. I looked out the window. 10 years ago, when Tom had that car accident, Lucy lost so much weight. I thought she was just grieving an old friend, and even comforted her. I wanted to say something, but no sound came out. It felt like my throat was blocked. All I could do was stare silently at the ceiling, tears streaming down until my life ended. Now Lucy was leaning on my shoulder, waiting for my answer. I stayed silent, and she waited a while. She asked with concern, "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" I shook my head. "Lucy, let's break up." She froze, then forced a smile after a few seconds. "Jack, the wedding is next month. Don't joke like that." I said calmly, "I'm serious." Her smile slowly disappeared. She studied my face carefully, as if trying to find any sign that I was joking. I met her gaze calmly, my expression serious. She asked cautiously, "Is this because of marrying into my family? Are you regretting it?" "I told you, it's just a formality. My dad agreed that our first child can take your last name." I answered flatly, "I just don't want to get married anymore." Her face instantly stiffened. "Jack, stop it. The invitations have been sent, the hotel is booked. Everyone knows. If you back out now, how is my family supposed to explain this?" Seeing that I stayed silent, she talked faster and got angrier. "You think my family can't replace you? Let me be honest. There are plenty of men who want to marry into my family. They'd line up for the chance. If you don't want it, then stop wasting everyone's time." After saying that, she was out of breath, her chest rising and falling, her face flushed. I finally spoke. "Is that person named Tom?" Her whole body suddenly froze like someone had hit pause. Even her breathing stopped. I just looked at her. I watched the color drain from her face, watched her lips move and close again. The panic in her eyes was impossible to hide. In my first 2 lives, Tom came back right after our honeymoon. Lucy was especially happy that day. She got up early to pick out clothes, changed 3 or 4 times, and finally wore a white dress. That dress was clearly old, but I'd never seen it before. On the way to the airport, she kept checking the time and urging the driver to go faster. At the airport, she stood at the exit looking around. The moment she saw Tom, her whole face lit up. She shouted, "Tom!" and ran over. They hugged each other tightly. After they let go, they were still holding hands and talking, going back and forth like they had years of words to say all at once. I stood beside them for 5 minutes before she finally remembered to introduce me. "This is my husband, Jack." Tom smiled at me and reached out his hand. "I've heard a lot about you. Before I came back, Lucy mentioned you all the time on the phone. For many years after that, they were always like that. Eating together, drinking tea together, talking about their childhood. Sometimes Lucy would stare at him in a daze, her eyes so gentle. I didn't know if that was how she looked at an old friend or something else. But she never looked at me that way. When she told me the truth before I died, she added one more thing. "You know Tom. He doesn't want to get married and he doesn't want kids. He and I missed our chance. There's nothing I can do, but I can't let him be all alone. I'm sorry." So even after I died, I had nowhere to go. Because the person she loved was already lying in the spot that should have belonged to me. I looked at Lucy, who was frozen in front of me. Her face was pale as paper, and her lips trembled slightly. "How do you know about Tom?" I didn't answer. I stood up and grabbed my coat. Lucy called out, "Jack!" She grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "Don't leave, explain this to me." I looked down at her hand, the hand I had held for 2 lifetimes. Now that same hand made me feel sick. "There's nothing to explain. I just don't want to get married anymore." "You're lying!" She stepped in front of me and blocked the way. "You just mentioned Tom. Why did you mention him? Do you know him?" I shook my head. "I don't." "Then how did you—" I walked around her toward the door. She stood there without moving and didn't follow me. When I opened the door, I looked back once. Her back was to me and her shoulders were shaking. When the door closed, I heard her shout something, but I didn't hear it clearly and I didn't go back to ask. The hallway was long. I walked slowly, my mind both messy and empty. I thought of so many things, yet it felt like I remembered nothing. At the elevator, I stopped and leaned against the wall for a while. The doors opened and closed and opened. People came and went and some looked at me, but I didn't care. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a message from Lucy. "Jack, what exactly do you mean?" I stared at those words for a long time and didn't reply. The elevator came again. I stepped in and pressed the first floor. As the doors closed, my phone vibrated again. It was still her. "Come back. Let's talk this through." I turned my phone off. By the time I got home, it was already past 9. I poured a glass of water and sat on the couch in a daze. Then the doorbell suddenly rang. When I opened the door, it was Lucy's father, William. In my first 2 lives after marrying in, he never looked at me with respect. Even after I turned Lucy Group into a public company, that didn't change. "Jack, got a minute? Let's talk." I stepped aside. He came in and glanced around the living room. That's right, I'm here to thank you. I heard about what happened today. You choosing to call off the wedding saved me a lot of trouble. I didn't say anything. To be honest, when Lucy first wanted to be with you, I was against it. He paused. You know our family's situation. She was spoiled growing up and never suffered. I never thought you could give her anything. But you handled this well today. You know you're reaching too high, so you backed out on your own. Good. He took a check out of his bag and placed it on the coffee table. Here's $5 million. Consider it compensation. I hope you don't change your mind or come back looking for Lucy. I picked up the check, glanced at it, tore it in half in front of him, then tore it into quarters and tossed it in the trash. He frowned. I said, "Don't worry, I will never change my mind." He stared at me for a few seconds, then nodded. Good. Then we have a deal. The next day, I went to the company and handed in my resignation. The HR manager was surprised and asked if I wanted a few days to think it over. I said no. After I got home, I started looking up travel guides, booking tickets, and planning routes. I decided to go to Yunnan first, then the Plateau regions, then Xinjiang and Qinghai, and just keep going. In my first 2 lives, I never went anywhere. I spent decades revolving around Lucy. In this life, I wanted to see the world. On the 3rd night, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I picked up and a woman's voice came through. "Jack, it's me, Anna." She was Lucy's best friend. "Do you have time right now? I want to talk to you." "No." She paused. "Jack, don't be like this." Lucy has been crying so much these past few days. Her eyes are swollen. How can you be so heartless? I said nothing. "Do you know Tom? After he heard you called off the wedding, he came back early. He just arrived today." Then she sent me a photo. At the airport exit, Lucy was wearing that white dress, hugging Tom. Tom was backlit, so his face wasn't clear, but I could see Lucy smiling. Her face was buried in his shoulder, and both her arms were around his waist. "Did you see it?" Anna's voice came through. "Lucy and Tom grew up together. You can't compete with that. It's not too late to turn back. Don't wait until you really lose her to regret it." I said, "Anything else? If not, I'm hanging up." She froze. You're not mad? You have nothing to say?" I hung up. I didn't delete the photo, but I didn't look at it again either. Over the next few days, Lucy called me several times and sent messages. I ignored all of them. The last call came Wednesday night. I didn't answer, and after that, she stopped calling. I ate alone, slept alone, and lived alone. I thought I would feel lonely and wouldn't be used to life without her, but surprisingly, it felt incredibly easy and peaceful. I didn't have to get up at 6 to make breakfast, or remember which of her favorite restaurants closed on Tuesdays. At noon, I didn't have to text her on time asking if she'd eaten, what she ate, or if she wanted me to bring her anything. At night, I didn't have to wait for her to get off work, or reheat dinner again and again just because she said she had overtime. Only then did I realize that across 2 lifetimes, I had given way too much for her. The day I finished my resignation paperwork, the weather was beautiful. I walked out of the company and the mall was right next door. I figured I'd buy a pair of shoes. My old pair was worn out and the soles were badly rubbed down. While taking the escalator to the 3rd floor, I saw Lucy. She was walking toward me from the other side, holding someone's arm. They were talking and laughing. She looked up at him, eyes curved, mouth lifted high. I had never seen that smile before. It wasn't polite, and it wasn't forced. It was the kind of smile that came straight from the heart. The person she was holding was Tom. He wore a white jacket and was half a head taller than her, speaking to her with his face turned sideways. I don't know what he said, but she laughed so hard her shoulders shook. The escalator slowly rose. They came closer and closer from the opposite side. I thought I would feel something, heartache, sadness, or anything else. But I didn't. I just watched them like they were 2 strangers. I even wondered what I should eat for dinner. She saw me first. Her smile froze on her face for half a second. Then she pulled her hand out of Tom's arm and let it drop to her side. The movement was light, like she had let go by accident. Tom followed her gaze and saw me too. He nodded as a greeting. I nodded back and got ready to keep riding the escalator up. "Jack," she called. The escalator was almost at the top and I didn't turn around. "Can you come down? I want to talk to you alone." Her voice wasn't loud and there was a hint of pleading in it. Tom glanced at her, then he looked at me, smiled and said, "I'll wait for you downstairs." Then he left, patting her shoulder before walking away. I stepped off the escalator and stood in front of her. She was wearing that white dress again today. Not the one from the first time she met Tom, but a new one with lace around the neckline. It made her complexion look beautiful. "Jack, let's find somewhere to sit. Say it here." She pressed her lips together and didn't insist. It was a weekday, so there weren't many people in the mall hallway. Now and then, someone passed by, glanced over, and kept walking. She lowered her head and stayed silent for a while. When she looked up again, her eyes were full of grievance. "Jack, are you done acting out? What exactly do you want?" She stepped closer and lowered her voice. "No wedding, no phone calls, no messages. What am I supposed to do? What is my family supposed to do?" I stayed calm. "Lucy, let's break up. I've thought it through. I'm not the right person for you." She froze like she couldn't believe those words had come from my mouth. "Why would you think that?" I looked at her without answering. She waited a few seconds, and when I still didn't speak, she started talking first. "Jack, do you remember the first time you asked me to see a movie? You bought the tickets and waited for me outside the theater for 2 hours. I had something come up and couldn't go, but you didn't get mad. You just said we'd watch it another day. That was the moment I started having feelings for you. Later, when we got together, you brought me breakfast every morning, delivered it downstairs at my office, left it at the front desk, and left. When I asked why you didn't come up, you said you were afraid of disturbing my work. And your proposal." She paused, her gaze drifting away. "You set up so many lights in the park and arranged them into a heart on the ground. You even hired someone to record it. When you got down on one knee, you scraped your knee. I told you to get up, but you refused until I said yes. Jack, we've been together for so many years. I really wanted to spend my life with you. She looked at me, her eyes red. How can you just end it like this? Is it because of Tom? He grew up with me. There's nothing between us. We're just regular friends. If you're unhappy that he's back, I can make him leave. If you don't want to see him, I won't see him anymore. As she spoke, she reached for my sleeve. I stepped back and shook my head. It's not because of Tom. Her hand froze in midair for a moment before slowly dropping. Then what is it? You have to give me a reason. I thought for a moment and began telling a story. There was a little boy who really wanted a toy. She was slightly startled, not understanding why I was saying this. The toy sat in a store window. It was beautiful. Every day after school, he would stand there and look at it for a long time. He saved money for a long time, and one day, he finally had enough. He ran to the store and said, "I want to buy that toy." The clerk told him that toy wasn't for sale. The boy didn't give up. He started helping around the store, moving boxes, cleaning, doing anything they needed. After a year, the owner said, "If you keep working hard, I'll give you that toy someday." So he kept working for many years. Later, that toy had already grown old, and new toys had replaced it in the window. But he still wanted that one, because he believed it belonged to him. Finally, one day, the owner said, "All right, you can have that toy." The boy was so happy, but when he opened the box, it was empty. After hearing that, she froze for a few seconds, as if trying to figure out what that story had to do with her. Then the half-understanding look on her face slowly disappeared, and she frowned. "Jack, what exactly are you trying to say?" Her tone changed and impatience started showing. "Toys, boxes, what are you talking about? Can't you just say it directly?" I didn't explain. She waited a few seconds, and when I still said nothing, she took a deep breath. "Fine, I'm done going in circles with you. My dad said the wedding won't be canceled or delayed because my family can't afford that kind of humiliation. If you've really decided to break up, then we'll replace the groom." She looked at me as she said it, her eyes full of both testing and threat. It was like she was waiting for me to back down, to apologize, to beg her not to do that, because she knew exactly how much I used to love her. I looked at her and smiled faintly. "Congratulations to you and Tom. I wish you a long and happy marriage."